We've got Judge Boyd Mossman. Good morning.
Morning.
And you are a trustee of OHA, Hawaiian
Yes,
Office
I am.
Affairs. Well, thank
Right.
you for coming in this morning.
Now, Judge, you're retired, okay?
Yes.
Well,
So, of course, you have absolutely no time left in your schedule now that you're retired. You retired as a judge in 1999?
99. Correct.
And when you retired, were you pretty much thinking about, well, I'm just going to go on half-time and relax and read and study and fish? Or what happened? Because when I first met you, I was talking to people about you, and they said, well, he's a retired judge. And I call you up, you're busy, you've got email, you're always traveling, you're doing things. Why did you take on a second or third career like this?
Well, I retired. I was young. Considering, I was 55, and so
okay.
what do I do? I'm not going to do nothing for the remainder of my life. So, and in addition, I still had a growing family. So, I went into private arbitration and mediation.
oh, wow.
That's what I did for about 4 years on my own. And
Nice.
then I decided to run for the Office of Hawaiian Affairs Trustee from Maui.
And you've been elected how many times now, Judge?
This is 3 times.
3 times. Kelly, I'm curious, why did you decide to run the first time? What motivated you?
Well, I tell you, if you knew anything about the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, you would wonder that exactly. Why would anybody in his right mind want to run for that office? That office had a bad reputation in the community, both Hawaiian and non-Hawaiian community. That organization was the publicity they always received was very negative.
It always seemed to be bad stories.
Because they badmouth each other, they fight with one another, they swear with one another. It just was not the type of organization you want to associate with.
So you said, I'm going to go clean house?
No.
Because
no.
purely you weren't
No,
jumping in to say, I want to join the bad, right?
I wanted to stay as far away from that
okay.
organization as I could.
All
But I
right.
got a couple of people asked me to run, and I said, no. Then I read in the newspaper one day about a case in the courts which was threatening the Hawaiian existence as a people. It was Arakaki versus Lingle. And when I read about that case, I thought to myself, if OHA loses that case, the consequences are going to be very, very...
Catastrophic?
yeah, that's the word.
Catastrophic. I
Exactly.
like that word.
Yeah, that's a good word. Really. I'm trying to find a word out there, and
Yeah.
thank you, Kelly.
Yes.
And so I decided, well, rather than just sit on the side and do nothing about it, I should try to do something about
Good attitude.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's always the dangerous period, isn't it? I'd like to help. Okay. Now, for listeners who may not be familiar with the case that you just discussed, just in a nutshell, can you tell us what were the issues in that, and why would it have been catastrophic if OHA had lost the case?
It was just primarily the argument was that Hawaiians should not be treated differently than any other racial group in Hawaii or in the United States, based upon the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution, equal protection. Everybody has the same rights.
Right.
So why should Hawaiians get any kind of entitlements? Why should they be recognized as Hawaiians as opposed to non-Hawaiians, et cetera, which are valid arguments. However, they're very unique in a sense that with Hawaiians, as with Indians and with Alaskans, the United States Constitution does have a provision that separates them in a sense from others.
That's interesting that the founding fathers and mothers that we hear, well, we don't hear much about the founding mothers, do we? But the founding fathers in developing the Constitution actually did recognize that these were indigenous peoples and that they had nation states. They had organizing bodies, and so the idea was that the United States government, as it was being formed, would in fact work with the native tribes and organizations and governments in order to have an equal relationship.
Well, I mean, the land was not vacant when they came.
It was just wide open.
I mean, people had their life established already.
The Commerce Clause of the Constitution, that's Article 1, Section 8, specifically says Indians.
Right.
Congress can pass laws relating to Indians specifically.
As opposed to states doing it on their own.
Right, and giving the Congress the authority to make laws specific to Indians. Okay, so they've made them, and in addition to the Indians or the Native Americans, they have also made laws specific to the Native Alaskans, Alaskan Natives.
Right.
And so they are two different Aboriginal indigenous groups. They're totally different from one another. The argument that is given to us today by many of the members of Congress is that we're not Indian, so we can't qualify for this exemption, so to speak. Our argument back is, well, but the Alaskans have been qualified by Congress, and it's been upheld thus far.
Kelly, I don't know, one of the things that I learned, and I worked for many years in Indian country. I actually did a lot of work with energy programs and stuff, and had a chance to work with the National Council of American Indians and others. Mm-hmm. And what happens is you learn history, and it's like, oh, they got together in Philadelphia and they wrote the Constitution. But if you go back and look at things like what Benjamin Franklin wrote about, a lot of the Constitution of the United States was based on the Iroquois, the laws of the Iroquois nation, which had a bicameral situation, with two houses of legislature. And I don't think what people understand is how much of our own government is actually based on what tribes were doing for hundreds of years before, like you said, anyone got here.
Yeah. So that was our argument in response in the Akaka versus Lingo cases. Yes, we acknowledge the 14th Amendment. However, we also acknowledge the Article 1 of the Constitution. The ruling was not based on either of those provisions in the United States Constitution. The ruling was actually based upon more a procedural matter, but because there was no standing and there was by the plaintiffs and so forth.
Judges don't like to issue broad things, do they? Well, they like to narrow rulings.
Well, it's coming. It's going to come, and that's why we need the Akaka bill. Because without the protection of the Akaka bill, which would lead to ultimate recognition, as with the Indians and with the Alaskans, without that legal protection, that shield, so to speak, we're due to have another suit against us one day.
Sitting ducks.
Yeah, and the likelihood of us prevailing again, in light of what the courts have said up until today, anyway, is not very good. They've been telling us, look, you got to get some recognition.
So, folks, if you just tuned in, you're listening to AM 900 KNUI. The call number, because I know this is a hot topic, everyone's been talking about it. We've got Judge Boyd Mossman, and he's chained to his chair right now. We've got him in the studio for another 45 minutes. So we've got any question that you have, any ideas, any thoughts, opinions, call in 856-2836. We've got a minute left in this segment. When we come back, Tom and I and Judge Boyd Mossman, what I'd like to know is what are the key factors that the Akaka bill is outlining? And the other big question, Tom, is with the House changing in how many days? 7-8 days.
Yeah.
How does this look good for you? Does this look bad for you? How are you folks feeling about this? Do you feel this could be the end of your line, or do you think that it might be better?
More Republicans are going to be in the Senate.
That's right. I think Republicans will be taking over. So anyway, let's address those issues in the next segment.
Hey, you're listening to the Maui Breakfast Club. We are very honored to have Judge Boyd Mossman here. Give us a call, 856-2836. This is AM 900 KNUI, and we are the Talk of Maui.
We are the Talk of Maui, folks. Judge Boyd Mossman with OHA. We'll be right back.